Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Candidates 2024. This is the biggest chess tournament of the year, and the winner of it will play for the World Chess Championship later on this year. Now, this is round number 9 out of 14. If for some reason you just stumbled into this coverage, there is a playlist on this channel of all the previous rounds. The players are playing a double round robin. There are 8 players both in the open and the women's section, and the race for first place is heating up. Yesterday, Hikaru Nakamura defeated Fabiano Caruana in an exhilarating game, winning his 4th game in a row against Fabiano in major chess events when Hikaru has the white pieces. And today, Alireza Firouzja put on a dazzling display of attacking chess against none other than Jan Nepomniachtchi, a man who has not stopped winning the candidates in now 2.5 editions of this tournament in the recent years. And that is where we are going to start today's recap. Alireza showed up today and played the move knight to f3. In fact, earlier this year, Alireza met Jan Nepomniachtchi in the Tata Steel tournament in January and played knight to c3 and promptly defeated him in some 25 to 30 moves. So I think basically Alireza just says, you know what? I think Jan is really well prepared. Jan has prepared 2 times for a World Chess Championship match. There is literally no greater time that you do any sort of training. And so I'm just going to play knight f3. When he plays the move d5, I'm going to play b3. And we are completely out of theory. Oh, and by the way, there was a massive drama surrounding this game, which I will get into when I show you the final result. Knight to f6, bishop to b2, and now Nepo plays bishop f5. Okay, there are many ways to play. You can play c5, knight c6. Generally, White's next move is going to be e3, and the next major question is, will White play the move d4 at some point or never? Nepo plays bishop f5, so Jan plays a reverse London. I mean, this is always, we know the London is, like, not like the Rolls Royce, it's kind of like the Maserati of of openings. It's pretty reliable against most setups, but requires a lot of maintenance. And then Alireza does this. So he plays a double fianchetto at the candidates. So he just basically says, you know what, I'm going to throw all the openings in the garbage. And Jan and I are going to play something like this. So we have c5. Jan spends a little bit of time, takes the center. Knight c6, very principled approach. Pawn to e6 by Jan. Very normal stuff. Developing his pieces, the bishop doesn't go out to b5, so it's not going to get rid of the knight. And now Alireza plays d3. You notice he has spent 21 minutes in 7 moves. So, and he's playing in a very kind of very non-standard way, in a way that we see mostly in blitz games. Like, he plays knight bd2, and his major idea is going to be to play the move e4. He also could play the move c4, but e4 is a little bit better. Rook e1, and there is literally no greater indication that he would like to play the move pawn to e4. Now, Nepo here plays this, and the idea is to bring the bishop back to h7. Now, what's interesting is that the critical plan here for black generally involves a very quick queenside advancement. And the reason you need to do that is because White is standing like this. Black can't play d4 shutting out this bishop, because that allows White moves like e3, as well as knight c4 and a4, where the knight will be planted. So Black doesn't really have d4, but Black does have advancement with the pawns. But Jan plays this in a way where he keeps the tension in the center. Alireza puts the knight on e5. The idea is to trade off Black's knight to maintain more or less everything else in the position, but it's to open up this push. All right, now Jan plays knight d7, and you'll notice both guys have already spent about half an hour each. And that is one of the benefits of playing the way that Alireza has played. And the reason for that is that he's just basically saying, like, we have to play chess. I mean, there's no memorization. This is not a memory test. We just both have to make good decisions. And Jan's next move is not a good decision. He plays the move d4. And I mean, I'm not gonna overstate like whether this is a mistake or not, but it's not the right plan. And the reason it's not the right plan is once you lock the center, White just kind of gets a free play. Whereas when you keep the tension and the center is open, Black can offer an exchange. Yes, you will be shoved backwards, but there's a difference because you never played the move d4. So you actually still fight for very important squares in the center, and actually White blocked himself. So this is not a checkmate, and Black will go back with this plan of b5 and hammering away at White's position. So d4 is the move Jan chooses, and very quickly, Alireza stops Black from advancing and plays f4. and gets a very, very pleasant advantage, and already has the makings of a beautiful attacking game. If Nepo takes, moves like bishop h4 don't do absolutely anything, and also not to understate, but black could get the bishop just straight up walled away. Like, white could, I'm not saying you gotta do this right now, it's not a good move, but who is saving this bishop? And also you can play e5, creating a wedge, not allowing either of these pieces to get forward, so it's a really bad position, and after queen c7, queen f3, it just gets worse. I mean, Alireza just has one very simple plan, and his simple plan is advance over here like the Terminator and hand Jan his first loss of this tournament. He has not lost. It's been 8 games. And I will remind you of the statistic that I've been telling you, that for the last 28 plus 8, which is 36 rounds of candidates, Jan Nepomniachtchi has never not been in first place. Never not been. Some of you have never been in first place. He has never not been. So Jan Nepomniachtchi has been first or tied for it every candidate's every round. Alireza plays bishop h3, and he's just making improvements. Every single one of his pieces is getting into the game. Black plays bishop d6. You'll notice Jan is playing pretty quickly. And the reason for that is he knows Alireza takes a lot of time. Alireza is now down 37 minutes on the clock, and he has 40 minutes to make 22 moves, because that's the way the time control works. So it's a very big moment here for Alireza, who now brings the bishop around, but the advantage has grown the entire game. And at some point, Alireza is going to make his breakthrough. Queen c6 played, and officially we have reached the biggest advantage point of the game. White needs to do something. White now either needs to take, push, something like that, or he just has to go for it with the pawn and leave his pieces behind. The problem with leaving some of these pieces behind is once you play f5, this bishop kind of loses its role. So then you start thinking, well, what if I take and play f5? Let me tell you something. That's what I would do. I'm not playing in the candidates, but I would do that. The reason is I really like this knight, and I like the pressure that it's putting on the black position. What is black going to do? Black is going to play f6. White is going to play g4. And sensing that this is coming, right, black needs to evacuate. So black is going to play king f7. And then you're going to play h4. And then black is going to play king e7. And this might look completely ridiculous, but this is like, this is like, what is it? The wolf and the is it the pigs? I don't remember. I didn't have a childhood. I played chess the whole time and listened to my parents argue. So yeah, what the blowing on the houses and then they fall over or whatever. I think it's the Three Little Pigs. Yeah, you got to get out of there, right? Like this is big bad wolf right here. So Alireza thinks for a bit, right? Queen c6, and he does in fact take, but he takes the bishop. This is a major decision. I mean, for whatever reason, he decided to make this trade as well. He made that trade and that trade. I wouldn't have done that, but maybe he has an idea. He just plays f5, and now it's basically unstoppable force, immovable object. Black has 8 pawns on dark squares. White is going to infiltrate on the dark squares. Something is going to happen. Here comes g4. Jan is evacuating. Here comes h4. Here comes rook e2. The preparations are being made to make a breakthrough with this. Now, Alireza could also play a5. That very well could be the best move. And then forcing black to make a decision. You play b5. Now I play a6. So now your pawns can't separate. You can't hold together. So there's a hope that in the future, I'll play rook a5, I'll play bishop a3, and maybe I break through. At the same time, this could be a liability for white, and maybe black is actually the one that's going to leave this pawn here and end up winning it. So, tough decision. Alireza decides, you know what, I'm going to allow Jan to play a5, and I'm going to focus fully on g5. And either I'm winning or I'm not. And the engine really seems positive about the white position. Jan plays bishop g8. It is, by the way, can I just say, it is utterly ridiculous this position's not a win for white. Like, black literally can't move 2 pieces. How can you just have 8 points of pieces, completely immobile, but you're not losing? Now, if white had a knight, like if this knight would be there, yeah, white would probably be winning in some lines. Or maybe if white pushed this and didn't allow black to do this. There was a couple of moments in this game where definitely Alireza could have done things slightly differently, but he still gets a fantastic looking position, and he plays rook g6, and I mean, this has to be winning. This absolutely has to be winning for white, because when black takes, you now have a pawn that is 2 squares away from queening, it is defended permanently, and I literally mean all of black's pawns, are waiting to be captured by this bishop. And then I'll finish this and I'll draw a heart. That's kind of that heart probably would require some sort of surgery. Bishop e1, bishop h4. Maximum pressure has been applied by Alireza. But Jan defends himself. And somehow, despite doing absolutely everything right in this game, there's no way in. How is that possible? How does Jan Nepomniachtchi have some sort of angel of the chessboard watching over him during the candidates? He has a fortress. And you might say, how is this? I don't understand. How's the fortress? Well, black just does this and you can't break in. Black has everything protected. There's no way to kangaroo. You can't just, you can't hop in. And you can't even play moves like c3. Like, for example, let's say queen f3, right? Like this. And let's say here, queen d2. And then black plays king a7. You play c3 trying to break out. Guess what? You just created a target for yourself. You're going to lose. So queen g2, rook c6, the players move around and they make a draw. Alireza Firouzja had a mammoth attack barreling down toward Jan Nepomniachtchi. And I don't know where he went wrong. Maybe he went wrong when he allowed Jan to play a5. Maybe he went wrong when he traded the knight for the bishop. Like maybe he should have just traded the bishop for the knight. I think on a high depth, the engine likes this position more. It wants to keep the knight. And I kind of don't blame him. You gotta wonder, like, why did Alireza give up this knight? Now, the next game that I'm going to show you, I will show you in a moment, but right after came this series of tweets from Alireza from the bottom up, which reads, shameful action by the chief arbiter toward me during the game. In the middle of the game, the most intense moment when I was walking during Jan's move, the arbiter came up to me and told me to not walk around anymore because my shoe is making noise on the wooden floor. He told me not to walk and also bring new shoes for tomorrow, but I've worn the same shoes for a year and they're approved. Big distraction for me during the game. I completely lost my focus. And I honestly, all these unprofessional things are happening to me in almost every tournament, really taking its toll on me to the point of exhaustion. That's wild. We really just, we were going pretty well. There was no drama in this candidates. Look, obviously none of us were there. Alireza also is tweeting this on, like if Alireza wins this game, he probably would tweet it, but I think it would be received slightly better. Yeah, look, based on what he said, we don't know what the chief arbiter said. We don't know the situation. And he also commented that like somebody joked, were you wearing high heels? And he was like, no, I was wearing regular platform shoes. There's women there. The women are wearing high heels and nobody's stopping them. So yeah, I don't think that you should ever walk up to a chess player in the middle of a game unless something is, I don't know, wrong or there's a earthquake outside. Like I guess they would have felt that. And we don't know what moment he meant, right? Like we don't know where, like if it was here, that's a really big problem because this was the critical moment of the game and we just don't know. And we had this drama with Anamaya Kazarian some months ago with the shoes and getting a fine, but we don't know. We don't know. This is Alireza saying it, and as always on this channel, I'm trying to stay relatively diplomatic, but I do just kind of laugh at the concept of there is just always chess drama. Like we don't know actually what happened. The chief arbiter hasn't said anything, but how is there just always some drama? Like it's just. And Alireza was unable to actually win this game, and he had an unbelievable position. And Jan just, I'm telling you, has an angel watching over his games. It's incredible, some of these games that he is playing. Now, a player that has really struggled, actually. And I didn't have her point total up. Let me add it. She had 2.5 points, and she has lost 3 of her recent games. And Tan Zhongyi, tied for first on the women's side, plays a Sicilian. And this one, relatively nice position, I have to say, for Vaishali from the opening. White just has these 2 very, very nice bishops. Probably the best way to continue here is to play a move like rook e1, get black to castle, and then begin various attacking mechanisms. The computer really likes knight h4, preventing this. Vaishali plays b3, so she tries to fight back on the queen side, and then she goes for an attack with queen f3 and so on. And this game gets very spicy very quickly, but there's a moment here of a lot of tension. Vaishali spends a lot of time, and she lunges in with her pawn, giving up this pawn in the center. And Tan Zhongyi has been a nightmare this tournament. She strikes back, just plays f6, and just kind of calls the bluff, like the knight is hanging, the queen will hang next, this is hanging, and Vaishali goes take, and c5. And is losing. She can't defend d4. She can't defend her knight. She has to back up. She loses this. She's going to lose the c5 pawn. She goes here. This is a fork. Queen e7 and rook f7 defends everything, and black wins. Vaishali resigned. That's 4 losses in a row now, unfortunately, for Vaishali. And Tan Zhongyi's in first with 6 out of 9. She's in first place. She was tied last round with Lei Tingjie and Alexandra Goryachkina. But unfortunately, Vaishali is spinning out of control. I mean, she had 2.5 out of 5. She was on 50%. I think she was even 2 out of 4 or 2.5 out of 4. But suddenly and unfortunately, it has gone so very, very wrong for Vaishali. And this one was over in 20 moves against Tan Zhongyi. Another massive game. Vidit Gujrathi versus Hikaru Nakamura. Yan Nepomniachtchi is still undefeated. He is the only player in the candidates right now that has not lost a game, which is incredible. And he almost lost this round, but it was not meant to be. Now, Vidit and Hikaru are on 2 separate trajectories right now. Vidit lost a couple of games, won a couple of games, very up and down. Yesterday, he lost to Gukesh. So he lost to both youngsters of India with the white pieces. He has white again. He's playing Hikaru. Hikaru just beat Fabi. Hikaru full of confidence, right? Vidit plays the Italian. Yesterday, Vidit got hit with this move a6. This time, Hikaru plays h6. So everybody is trying to take Vidit out of prep. Like, that seems to be the strategy. Vidit will spend a lot of time navigating the early waters. He plays c3. All right? d6. This approach by black is intending to play g5. If you play h6, d6 in the Italian, you're going to put your bishop on e7, or you're going to play g5. You don't play bishop c5 anymore, right? Like, here was Hikaru's last chance. He could have played bishop c5 with the h6 system. Gukesh did kind of something similar with a6. And lo and behold, it is the most aggressive Italian known to humans. All right? h6, g5. So, I mean, it's like, it's an Italian. It's like you insulted his mother and his prosciutto at the same time. I mean, it literally doesn't get any worse than that. And his favorite football team. Terrible stuff. Just, not terrible. I'm just saying terribly aggressive. Hikaru has come to brawl. Vidit plays knight bd2. Now, the most principled way to play against this setup is actually exactly what Vidit does. Knight bd2 and bishop to b3. This really interesting retreat allows white to put the knight on c4. And the knight on c4 pressures the black pawn, so it negates d5. It also allows the knight to reroute to e3. You don't have to know any of this. You're going to play the Italian at your level and have diarrhea, and so will your opponent. It'll be really gross, but like, this is the meta strategy of the Italian. All right? And that is exactly what Vidit does. Vidit knows how to handle Hikaru's spark plug of an opening, right? Hikaru is playing very aggressively. Bishop e6, rook e8. Great job by Vidit. He navigates the position, and now we're sort of in new territory, and it's very, very tense. And one of the 2 sides is about to strike. Vidit plays bishop to a2. A little bit of hesitancy, 27 minutes down, but for Vidit, that's like, you know, a regular day at the office. And now Hikaru has the chance for this g4 move. And I mean, in this opening, if you're going to play g5, you better play g4, and you got to play knight g4. And I think Hikaru didn't want a position where he was going to have to deal with a lot of exchanges. I think he just didn't like this. Take, here. The white knight could go to f5. Hikaru might need to play d5. But that might have been the best approach, because instead he goes here. Spends a lot of time. He spent his entire 27-minute advantage not playing pawn to g4. And then he trades, the same thing happens, and now Vidit takes the center, and Vidit does the Max Holloway. That was, can I just quickly say for the UFC fans? Sensational. What a fight. I felt kind of terrible, though. Did any of you feel bad for Justin Gaethje? Like, broken nose, eye poked, and has to get knocked out with 1 second left, but Vidit says like this, like right now, we're fighting. ED, CD4, Hikaru strikes back, the center gets locked, and now Vidit plays rook a3, and he's just bringing the rook. He's just gonna meet Hikaru on the c-file. Hikaru strikes on c5, and now, in this position, the engine loved the move knight g4. It was like, the game chat was like, both guys are blundering, they're so stupid, because that's, you know, live chat nowadays. But we have dc5 instead, rook c5, queen d1. Vidit is just playing very well. He's got a very nice control of the center. He's going to infiltrate on Hikaru's weaknesses. The knight is going to come in. Vidit doing a nice job dealing with Hikaru's aggression. Knight f4. Now another well-timed queenside strike with b4. The best move here is to go take. But Hikaru doesn't like that very much. So instead he backs up and he's just giving Vidit a pawn. It's like poker. He's just giving Vidit a pawn, and Vidit takes the pawn. And he calls the bluff and he says, show me what you got. Right? Just show me what you got. Now Hikaru has the option to move this knight there or there. He chooses this way. The bishop comes back to c3. And now, well, black's just down a pawn. I mean, it's not just at the high level, but it really makes you wonder, like, somewhere along these lines, Vidit just understood the necessity of the position a little bit better than Hikaru, and Hikaru decided to gamble and take the pawn back, and Vidit finds the best move. He finds bishop takes knight, bishop takes, knight takes d5. Opening up a discovered attack on this, and if you count the pawns, he's going to be up a pawn. At the end of all of this, maybe Hikaru thought he had queen d6 here, defending the bishop and attacking the rook, but then you just take, and you can't take the rook because of knight f6 check. So knight d5, knight d5, and Vidit is completely winning against Hikaru for a second game in a row. And he just gets straight in there, wins another pawn, gets in with his queen, and mate is in the evaluation. And let me tell you something right now. When M is in the evaluation, like a BMW, it is really bad news. He sacrifices the rook, and Hikaru resigns. Vidit Gujarati just beat Hikaru with white and with black in the candidates. Who is this man? He is now on 50%. He has 4.5 out of 9. He's back to 50%. Vidit has had an insane tournament. He has had 7 decisive games, or 6. I mean, Vidit? Yeah, they call him Vidit 2.0 in the Indian live stream, like the Chess-Based India live stream. I mean, he is playing some crazy chess. He's fighting like a heavyweight. That's what he's doing. He's looking for those performance of the night bonuses. And Hikaru, after just being half a point out of first place, loses. Insane, completely nuts. What a game from Vidit. Now, I'm gonna go around. Lei Tingjie in first place against Nurgul Salimova. Nurgul plays a Philidor. I mean, we are literally going to travel the entire planet of chess openings in this event. And Lei Tingjie plays Rook G1. This is not a technical glitch, my friends. The idea is to play G4 and H4. Lei Tingjie is looking at the game between Vaishali and Tan Zhongyi and saying, listen, Nurgul is the lowest rated player in the field. She is also the youngest player in the field. I need to go for an attack. And Nurgul spends 20 minutes on the 7th move. And Lei Tingjie is immediately barreling down. Knight e6, queen d3. Look at knight d7. Just going backwards, bobbing and weaving and rolling and ducking under the punches. The knight strikes on c5. And from the opening, actually, you know, despite her getting out her pieces, she was worse. And Lei did not hesitate. She went straight to g5. Bishop went back to d2. That move, not loved by the engine. The computer really liked rook g4, stopping the advancement of the knight, and then looking for moves like rook d1 and knight d4. But then black could play rook h1, which this just looks really idiotic. But white is actually doing very well. Bishop d2 was played, and Nurgul trades the queens. She secures a queen trade, and this game was spicy for a moment, but then it very, very, very quickly, all the pieces flew off the board. And I have a feeling Lei kind of went into recovery mode here. She spent a lot of time and she did not find the most critical test of the black position. She kind of got what she wanted from the opening, but it came down to one critical move. Maybe she was also asked to not walk around in high heels. And so that's really crazy that you just tell a player not to walk around. Like, what if he just walked around barefoot? That would have been alpha. Anyway, a queen trade and not much else to choose here. The pieces came off the board. There was some trades. White had a little bit of pressure with the bishop, but a very nice defensive game, and the players ultimately shuffled their pieces. And Lei still half a point behind Tan Zhongyi, despite beating her yesterday. Now, Alexandra Goryachkina, another co-leader, versus Anna Muzychuk, but she stays principled. Goryachkina does not play for a win with black. She plays the Berlin, the uber giga solid omega super solid Berlin. Now, I want to show you something crazy about this game. Look at white's clock, okay? Look at white's clock. Okay, well, right now they're both even, but suddenly Goryachkina starts thinking, okay, this is a gambit. White plays a gambit. She's down a pawn. So one of these Berlin lines nowadays. Bishop g5, very aggressive. Bishop e3. All right, now look at the time. All right, now look at the time spent. Oh, 106 to 133. All right, now c6, queen takes, knight f6. All right, and look at the time spent. All right, White is up 38 minutes on the clock. All of this was prep. White had 27 moves of prep in this game. More. I think g4 is still prep, g6. But the thing is, in the Berlin, like, if you play the best moves, you're going to make a draw. And what's crazy is Anna Muzychuk, who's having a crazy tournament, played all the way down here. And in this position, the culmination of the prep, the end of the prep, is bishop g6. You sack your bishop, and what you do here is you bring your king, and black can't move. If black plays king f5, you play king g3. Black can't move. Black plays knight d6, rook e5, and rook e6. So black can't get out. But Muzychuk loses the game. She blunders the game here and is potentially losing. Black is winning if she plays knight d8, which is nuts. It is so crazy. And the reason why knight d8 is winning is because this pawn is hanging. And the only way to stop that is to go rook c8, at which point I play knight e6. You can't take this, because if you take this, I bring my king, and then I'm just winning in the endgame. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just up a piece. So Goryachkina is winning if she plays knight d8. She doesn't. She doesn't find it. Like, this is the weirdest game ever, and now black just is down too many pawns. And since black is down too many pawns, the game just ends in a draw, because it's king and pawns. But Goryachkina if she just played knight d8, I'm not saying she would have won the game if she played knight d8, but that was the weirdest game ever. Muzychuk showed up and played 27 moves of obviously preparation because she didn't think. And then she just misplayed the plan. The idea here to hold was to take the pawn, so you had 3 on nothing. Instead, she does this, and this is completely the wrong plan. And she doesn't actually lose, and Goryachkina and Lei Tingjie are still half a point behind. Oh my goodness. Insanity. Now, Nigiata Basa, Fabiano Caruana. Yesterday, Fabiano losing with the black pieces against Hikaru. That was a crazy game. And today, he's got to win. I mean, he's playing a Basa, even if he's playing with black, and he plays one of the most aggressive lines in the Queen's Gambit Decline, this bishop b4 thing. It doesn't even have a name. It doesn't have a name. It's just a thing. Now we have take, all right? Knight f6, e3, and c6. So something that has really not been played much at all. a4, he's trying to put the bishop on the a3 square to prevent black from castling. And now in this position, Fabi plays this move, e5. And the point is to blow up the position, to get a huge simplification. Take on c4, take on c4, trade like this, knight g4, you're going to win this back. And the craziest thing here, the top engine move for white is f4. Sacrificing the rook in the corner, so you win it back, and when you win it back, when you win back the knight, you have all this activity. And I think Fabiano desperately wanted to get into some kind of position like that. I think he wanted to get into a position like that, and Nigiat says no. But now by saying no, black is just doing very well. Black plays rook d8, puts the knight on d3, removes the bishop pair, and now we have opposite colored bishops, which do have a reputation of being a draw, but white has very split pawns. So Nigiat is just playing in a very stubborn, very annoying fashion. Fabi plays c5, c4 from Nigiat, and now a big moment. A big moment in this game. Fabiano Caruana has to find the approach to get the advantage, and that approach, which the engine showed, I'm not showing a move that I would have played, that I'm better than Fabi, is this move a5. Now, obviously, Fabi didn't like something about the move a5, but essentially, you're fixing the pawns on the same color square as the bishop. He obviously didn't like something here, because obviously he would have played that. His next move would have been knight c6 and maybe knight b4. The pawn here anchors both pawns. And like, look, in a perfect world, I mean, you get a position that looks like this, and you are just much better. I don't know why Fabi didn't play a5. Instead, he allowed Nigiat to play a5, and nearly all of his advantage disappeared. And that is kind of nuts, because I really feel like, in form, Fabiano Caruana plays a5 in a heartbeat. And he doesn't play a5, and that was his one big moment in this game. because otherwise life is just hard at the high level. We go to an opposite colored bishop endgame. A lot of pawns are about to fall off the board. White's king is out in the open, but completely safe. Walking around, strolling around the board. And at some point, the pawns are going to start getting traded. They do. The rooks are going to start getting traded. They do. And the players just make a draw. You can't do anything here. I mean, you could play rook c7, bishop c7, but you're never going to queen this pawn. And Fabi misses a chance, for sure. I mean, Fabi showed up and played very provocatively. And you got to give credit to Nijat. I mean, Nijat is drawing these 2800s, these 2770s, and he's only 2630, but this game was Fabiano's for the taking, especially because Nijat did not call his bluff, did not give up the rook in the corner. He just got himself into a very passive position, you know? And Fabi just missed. He just didn't play a5 for whatever reason. I'm sure he's going to be asked about it. I don't know what he didn't like about this move. And again, I'm not sitting here saying I would have played this move. That's not the point of the recaps. The point is to say, I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know. And a lot of people were surprised. A lot of very strong commentators. Judith Polgar, you know, today was Hess, and Vishy Anand was commentating. And a lot of people were talking about the a5 move, and Fabi doesn't play it. He doesn't get to 5 points. He's still on 4.5. And another matchup for a first place finish. It was Humpy Conneru versus Katsarina Lagno. This one, similar structure, by the way, as the Fabiano game. Confrontational early on, this kind of gambit line. Humpy giving up a pawn and then getting it back on c5, and Lagno came to play. I mean, she really came to play today. She was trying to win this game at all costs, but sometimes it's just not meant to be. White actually had sustained pressure in this opening, pushing around the black pieces, but sometimes it just so happens things start getting traded. And it is actually Lagno who is going to be pushing now with the pawn on b5. She's got the outside pass pawn. She's got this kind of endgame plus here. She's going to keep on pushing. Rook and knight. She wins the pawn, and now we have a rook endgame. And this rook endgame looks to be winnable for black, because black has more pawns, but it's really not. These two pawns cancel out against these two pawns, and you can't really win rook in one versus rook. I mean, if the right defensive conditions are met. And Lagno tried and tried and tried and tried, but after some 15, 20 more moves, the position became simply deadlocked. There is no way for black to possibly get here. There's also no way not to keep this pawn protected. And so Lagno drew this game as well and got to 5 points. So it's a big race. And this was the matchup of the day, perhaps. This one was the Battle of the Indian Youngsters. This is Gukesh versus Prague. Prague looking for revenge after losing to Gukesh with the white pieces. Let's not forget that is a thing that happened. And he is looking to win. But I don't know. Is he going to go all out? Or is he going to take it easy, right? Because Gukesh is the one who's got the white pieces in this game. And he'll be looking to put up something. We have a Spanish, and this time Prague does not play f5. He plays principled, but he still goes for a sideline, which is bishop c5. And now we're kind of in a weird anti-Berlin. So basically, we're in a position e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, knight f6, d3, bishop c5. And in this position, it's as if we got something like, let's say c3, castles, bishop c6. Something along these lines. Like, except in the game, we have a6 and bishop a4 included. So rather than playing provocatively, Prague goes here. We have bishop c6 damaging the structure. And now we just kind of have like a weird anti-Berlin type of position. Both guys out of prep. Also, their record head-to-head is 4 wins, 4 draws, 4 losses, which is pretty epic. Gukesh tied for first. Prague needs to beat him to get first place. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Opposite colored bishops. May the best man win. Bishop g5. Very quickly, Gukesh loaded up a cannon with the f-pawn. And he had Prague on the back foot. Prague played pawn takes f4, giving Gukesh a really powerful outlet. I actually am shocked Gukesh did not play rook f4. Bishop f4 is what he plays. The castle is there, this, and now c4 blocking out the light squared bishop. But Prague right there, b5, ready to meet him on the queen side. b3, c5, looking to shut down the center of the board. Knight to f3, trying to remove the knight. Remember, opposite colored bishops benefit the attacking player. Look at that advantage. Queen c3, rook g3, all would have been very, very pleasant ways for white to continue. Black plays knight g6. And actually, it's Prog who starts encroaching on Gukesh's queenside. It's a very big moment for Gukesh. What is he gonna do? He's gonna continue to attack. AB, AB, BC, BC. The whole queenside opens up. Prog gets out of the way, but one guy has a much better bishop than the other guy. All right? And now it's very methodical. He has to be very precise how he goes about this position. And Queen F2 is okay. Knight E3 would have been a little bit better. A computer like Knight E3 first. Very tough to tell the difference between the two moves, but this is the big moment now. This is kind of the big moment. And is Black going to get in on the queen side with counterplay? Is he going to? And he does, but Gukesh is holding. But now the bishop rerouted to a better position. Knight D5, and he's just right in time. He's just going to start trading Gukesh's pieces. Gukesh plays Rook B1. He doesn't quite trade, but we have a trade and F6. And 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Both guys have all their pawns to counteract the other's bishop. Rook B3, and he replans the knight. And this game was kind of like a matter of time, but Gukesh was just unable to kind of figure it out. He had a very nice position here when Prog's bishop was sort of misplaced. Maybe he needed to do something a little bit better. The computer here was shouting out Rook F6, by the way, which is a really, really gangster move. Can't take because of this. But after Rook A6, I'm not actually sure it accomplishes anything. Yeah, they drew. They drew their game, and nothing to choose between them, and a pretty crazy round. So, this is round number 8. Round number 9 is now updated. Tan Zhongyi in first place. Half a point behind her are Lei and Goryachkina. Katerina Lagno, 1 point away. Gukesh continues to lead the candidates. He is, I think, the youngest ever player to play at candidates. It's very close between him and Bobby Fischer. Pretty good company. And he's tied for first with Jan Nepomniachtchi. Prog is half a point out. So Prog now leapfrogs Hikaru, Fabi, and Vidit, because Fabi didn't win today, and Vidit won, but he was behind, and Hikaru loses. So it's still very close. I mean, 6 guys are still separated by 1 point. But we're quickly running out of time. Huge win for Vidit. Good day for the young Indian players that drew their game in a tense fight. And Alireza Firouzja is not allowed to ever get up and walk again. I'll see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow we have one more game, and then we have a rest day on the 16th. Get out of here.